on, family? How's everyone doing? All right, good. So, welcome to our Sound Sabbath service closing class. Okay, and this evening's lesson is going to be on Kwanzaa. Okay, Kwanzaa. Some of you may have heard of Kwanzaa. Some of you may have even celebrated it, and it can be one of those holidays that many of us become aware of, but we may lack a lot of the details concerning what it's all about. We just might just get used to a different color candlestick and that's kind of it, more Afrocentric approach, but we'll get more into those details and get an understanding of, what all it encompasses, okay, as best as possible. So let's go ahead and get into it. This first segment is going to be history and origin of Kwanzaa. Okay, this first segment, and this source is from Britannica. Um, where even with that, we'll just follow me. I don't want to give everything away just now, but we'll get more into that. What that means in terms of the Southern African first fruit celebrations. Okay, so and of course, keeping in mind, like I said, annual holiday. Not trying to replace your crib if you want to keep that, cool, but it's supposed to be something that it's not, it's supposed to be something that's more neutral. It's not supposed to be in terms of any political or religious affiliation, but more so about, as we dealt with in the last slide, more about affirming African family and social values. Okay, let's continue. So each of the days of the celebration is dedicated to one of these. And we're going to use a book. And this book from this source, this book is from Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph R. Windsor. Okay. And this is a good book, which, I'll do in a future lesson in terms of good books to study. This is a good beginner book to get in terms of your studies if you're new to the faith, new to knowledge and understanding, or if you don't have it in your library, it's a good read if you have not read it. Okay, it's a good book to read in its entirety. And not every source is like that in its entirety. That is generally a good book. Okay, some of them you chew the meat, spit out the bones, or it just may have a couple of excerpts or a few chapters, but this one is pretty good in its entirety. And we're just going to get a couple of excerpts here. One is page 84, okay, in the second paragraph, and we're going to read a couple things. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies, so we're dealing with the time of the Romans, okay, the time of the Romans, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. And some books may elaborate more on that. In Josephus, the works of Flavius Josephus is another work that gives more insight and more details of some of those atrocities and paints a more vivid picture of what happened. And Flavius Josephus was an Israelite who decided to go against his people and, side with the Romans. And by his people, he was seen as a traitor. But he decided to spend his life repenting by writing a history of his people, during that time, since he had the space to be able to do so. And that's a work that still survives to this day, but that's a whole nother conversation, with that. And it's also a main-sided work by Rudolph R. Windsor with this book. And he just summarizes some of that. So continue on. So many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. Listen to this. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, okay, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. So you had that. We fled, and that was something that was happening over a consistent period of time, okay? And there's much more, and that's where, there's a lot of history with that. We won't fully go into that because that's not the topic of discussion, but we'll skip over and get some other key things because we took a lot of our history and things of that nature with us, with that move and with that journey as well, which right now, I'll just get to page 120. So page 120, it said, many of the tribes in the Sahara and in the Sudan are Muslims in religion, but are Hebrew in nationality. Okay, just give you an idea of how scattered throughout our people are. Nahum Sok says, numbers of these Islamized Jews may be found everywhere. They're among the nomads of Algeria, the Smol, the Hanansha, the Trasa, the Masmata, the Mujin, the Kiblis, the Tuat. You will find them among the Yushesfana, the Garina, the Brahmi, and the Tripoli. You will find them in southern Morocco, among the powerful clans of the Dagatuns, who control the route to the Sudan and southward. They are non-Jewish by religion, but aware of their Hebrew origin. They are friendly to the Jewish merchants. Frequently, the Jew is the only communication between these tribes and the outside world. So, and again, as it says in the paragraph after next, the two main factors that motivated the black Jews to penetrate into North Africa were commerce and persecution. Also, these two factors impelled them to migrate into Central Africa, which is known as the Sudan. So now, and there's even more, a lot of history, with them, but I'm going to skip over some of these and get some more highlights. So now, page 130, and this is the Jews among the Ashantis. So among the Ashantis of the Gold Coast, Ghana, are found Jews who observe many Hebrew customs, okay, many Hebrew customs. That's why you're seeing you will see as we carry on a lot of connections between what Dr. Koenig was finding and researching with these tribes, and it seeming things that are very in line with the scriptures. And what you're reading in terms of what we think at first to be, oh, this is just African culture. You have to understand these are no different than like we're Americans, but we're American, Israelites. We're Israelites who live in the state or the country of America, of the United States of America. Whereas the same with our people then, they were Israelites who were living in Africa, and so people are just looking at them being in Africa. Oh yeah, Africans, but no, this is actually a situation where you have people who are by nationality, and where they stem from and what we identify with it through the scriptures. These are Israelites, living there, and even some of the attire and color that we think is just African. A lot of those things were are people, in there that they were creating these things, making these things. Even like the thing like the Sankofa and things, learning from our history. The bird, a type of swan that's looking back at and its body curved, looking back behind its learning from its history and where you came from, where you come from, things of that nature. So, but yes, so nevertheless, I'm not going to read the whole. There are just a little bit of these things. Um, so now it's even going to the Black Jews of Dahomey. Dr. J. Kreppel reported in 1926 that there existed a large Hebrew community of black Jews in the interior of Dahomey, West Africa. So you had that as well. The Yoruba Jews of Nigeria, another segment. I'll just read, just a couple of sentences. There are black Jews in southern Nigeria who are called the Imo Yukwam, or strange people, by the native Africans. But these black Jews call themselves by the Hebrew name B'nai Ephraim, or sons of Ephraim. Skip it down to the next paragraph. The assertion these Yoruba Jews that their ancestors were driven from locality to locality by Muslim persecution. Why that? Because before what many of us are aware of as far as the transatlantic slave trade, prior to that you had the trans-Saharan slave trade, okay? And the scriptures, speak on that as well. And, all these sources were brought out so that begin to understand and paint a picture. Many of the thing that you're taught, and even that you're finding out with Kwanzaa, the things that seem to be, it's put out there like, oh, African customs, African, because we're going to people who are residing in the various countries throughout Africa, and seeing similarities, getting a lot of these things in their feasts, when a lot of these are Israelites practicing things that stem from what we know today as the Bible, okay, the collection of books here. That's what's being practiced, or ensured by Israelites, okay, not by African in terms of descendants from Ham, okay. That's not what you're dealing with. And there's more, on that, but of course, just getting some of the main highlights. So now, turn our attention back to the PowerPoint history.com, and actually, let me go to the next segment, the 7 principles. So, okay, so what are these? I want to make sure that I rightly divide these things, because it's not that I want to make sure all these things that being covered. It's not necessarily that it's all bad. A lot of these principles are good. A lot of these principles are good. Now, go over some of these things that that like the scriptures say, hate the evil and love the good, and you want to be wise. And sometimes you just believe that with anything, just everything just all bad, and that's not always the case. So for one, it says unity. and verse 1. And this is just, for everything, just getting an example that, this is based on uh, a lot of the culture that he was seeing, but a lot of these things stem from the community and culture of our forefathers and foremothers, and even what they gained from the history and our heritage, which are the scriptures. Psalm chapter 133 and verse 1, and it reads, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." Okay, it's important to us. We have, as a nation, we're seen as brothers and sisters. You may get used to that being said in the church. Oh, brother so and so, oh, sister Thompson, and brother Gibbs, and not understanding that comes because we're literally, as a people, brothers and sisters. We're supposed to be, and that's how the Most High mentions us throughout the scriptures. Although technically we're cousins, but sees us as brothers and sisters. We're of the same stock. That's how the Most High sees it. So principle 2, self-determination. Okay. A balance, with that. There's a balance with that. That's not completely the way in which the Most High wants to go about things, but there is a balance there. Let's get Jeremiah 17 and 4. Let's get the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 4. We're going to read that. Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. And it says, "And now, even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. Why? For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever." Okay, because of our disobedience and committing sin. Okay, so we have to understand that who we are is based on who the Most High wants us to be, in short, and how he wants us to operate and move. It doesn't mean it takes away all of our personality, creativity, but you have to be the best version of you through the scriptures, and through righteousness first. So when we look at, in terms of, defining ourselves, naming ourselves, the Most High, he's already set us up in terms of how he defines us, and how he's already given us a name, the name of Israel, which isn't a rendition, as some would say, Isis, Ra, and El, because that's English words, that's English rendition. They weren't saying that in that time, but Yasharallah, okay, in the Hebrew, and that name having power, it literally means Prince of Power, but because the Most High's name is also within that, he's also saying, look, I'm part of it. I already had this whole setup. You don't have to try to figure it out, or find something new or things that nature already have. What it's what I generally set up for it to be. So, and there's a balance and good to create, opportunity things amongst ourselves and with each other, as long as it's based on this. Okay, and let's get Proverbs 22 and 1. Let's get the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, and let's go ahead and read verse 1. The book of Proverbs, chapter 22, and verse 1, and it reads, "A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold." So the Most High took time, and when he was building and establishing us as a people, to find a name of value, a name that was worthy of what he wanted us to represent and become as a people. So, and being the main people that he chose to continue on his legacy upon the earth, and to be the leaders, the guides over the other families, tribes, or nations, of the earth. No different than if you have a company, hey, someone got to be the manager, someone got to be the supervisor, got to have employees. Hey, he set that up, with us, but yet and still, we didn't abide by that the way that we should have abide by it, and we're coming back into that now with properly learning and studying. So let's continue. Number also something that is a biblical principle and how the Most High set us up to actually move. Let's get Joshua chapter 1 verse 12 through 16. Let's get the book of Joshua. And there's other places, but for many of these things, it's just at least finding one scripture to cover it and also to make sure I can, get through these things in a timely manner. Let's get the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 12 through 16. The book of Joshua, chapter 1, and verse 12. And to the Reubenites, and to the Gadites, and to half the tribe of Manasseh spoke Joshua, saying, Remember the word which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, The Lord your God hath given you rest, and hath given you this land. Because it mentions those tribes specifically instead of all the tribes, because those were the tribes that petitioned for a particular parcel of land on the other side of Jordan, and it was one of those things they were petitioning first to Moses and to Joshua, and it's one of those things to where the problem or the concern rather was, okay, well, if y'all over there, y'all over there on the east side, make sure y'all come back on the west side if something pop off, and don't be a stranger over there and act like, we ain't over there. That's their problem. We on this side, because we can begin to think like that. Well, that's y'all problem. Y'all got to figure that out, when part of being a community and a family is taking on that, hey, there's a shared responsibility at times, and understanding that if I don't help them out at this time, then these problems can, even if in this very moment it's not directly my problem, it's still indirectly my problem, but it can become directly my problem later on if I don't help or work to address it now. So verse 14 is letting them know. Verse 14, it says, Your wives, your little ones, and your cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you on this side Jordan. But ye shall pass before your brethren armed, all the mighty men of valor, and help them. Okay, that's the key thing. Help them. Help out, your brothers. 15, until the Lord have given your brethren rest, as he hath given you. And that's important too, helping that even if I got it, I'm good. Okay, well, what are you doing to help your people be good? Help your people be better. It's not over until we're better as a nation, as a community. We have to fight towards that, and not just deal as an individual mindset. So continuing on, and verse 15, then ye shall return unto the land of your possession, and enjoy it, which Moses the Lord's servant gave you on this side Jordan toward the sun rising. So after, you didn't help your brothers out, then you can really enjoy what you have, But we want to make sure we all come together collectively. 16, and they answered Joshua, saying, All that thou commandest us we will do, and whithersoever thou sendest us we will go. So that's a big thing, but you can see these are principles that are spiritual and scriptural. Okay, let's get the next one, number 4. So that's also been something that our people have done, even, from their inception, which, we'll get the book of Genesis chapter 47, verse 1 through 3. That our people, we that's from our beginning. We that's built in our fabric of our being. We just choose to go away from that. But even many, it's they have generations, and I come from that. You have it to where, hey, dad was a mechanic, my grandfather was a mechanic. I chose to be a mechanic. You have that, and that helps build a legacy as well. And many others come from that. So you continue on. The family business. Need that be? We're literally doing this all together, or just simply, hey, this is what I was taught from my father and my father's father, my father before him. Let's continue. Genesis 47, 1 through 3. Genesis chapter 47 and verse 1. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan. And behold, they are in the land of Goshen. So now and then reading on verse 2. And he took some of his brethren, even 5 men, and presented them unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto his brethren, what is your occupation? So he asked them, like, man, what do y'all do? What's your occupation? What you about? What y'all about? And they said unto Pharaoh, thy servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. Okay, our fathers. So, we and our fathers, we're shepherds. We make sure that this is our occupation. This is what we do. So that was the family business. So you had that from our beginning. It wasn't like each one, what are you? And then it's each one giving a different answer. They said both we and our father. It's what we've been. It's what we've been doing. That's what we own. So it's all in the family. Keep it in the family. Let's get the next principle, number 5. 2 and 7. That's part of it too. But in order to really do that, you have to understand what was our original greatness. What did that look like? And these scriptures give us what that was. Because to restore something, even to part of restoration is to repair, to fix something. Well, in order to fix something, you have to know, how did it normally operate? What was the normal function of it? What did that look like? Only then will you be able to go through the process of restoring or fixing it. You can't begin to truly restore or fix it if you didn't know how it normally worked. Because how do you know how is it broken? And how broken is it? So that you can repair it properly. So let's get Deuteronomy 32 and 7. Book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 7. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations, not just a few, not just your father and mother or your grandparent, but many generations going back, even before that, even before then, the greats, the great greats, the great 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 greats, times 5, times 6, times 10. Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. So there's a part of understanding of history in the past that you have to get and learn that the things that were passed down and understand. Let's get Isaiah 126. Let's get the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, and we're going to read verse 26. The book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 26 says, and I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. After that, thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Because remember, that's one of the first things that the Most High did when even establishing us as a nation was having judges. And that was both on one end, on the left, having leadership, and then on the right, making sure things were handled according to righteousness and being able to make decisions concerning matters and seeing how is this, what is the foundation? Is it right? And if not, how can we repair it, fix it, or go about it? Either way. Need to be right, need to be wrong. How do we, make amends or set things right or in its proper place so that everything is done decently and in order. Okay, so that was something, that the Most High set up, and that this is what he's also setting up now. That's why it says, verse 26, and I will restore thy judges as at the first. So, and as at the first is dealing when you're reading, within the first 5 books of law, the Torah, when you're reading the book of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and uh, you're you're seeing how the Most High was setting Israel up. Even Genesis, towards the middle and the end, how we were getting set up. But you're seeing a lot of that. So that's what it means as at the first. How he was setting up Moses and Joshua, just leadership and everything being done and filtered according to righteousness. That's what he's doing. So, and then it says, afterward, thou should be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Why? Because we're in a place to where we're learning our true culture, our true heritage, and we're learning how to deal with one another, how to be, because you see our people, we lack a moral and civil compass. The world is lacking, but we're like on the top of the list. And I'm sure that was something that Dr. Karinga, that he understood, and why he was trying to a major supporting factor, why he was trying to do things that he would believe to be good for his people. So let's get 6, creativity. Cool. Beautiful. Let's get Proverbs 13 and 22. That's another beautiful one. So that's a good principle. Let's get Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 22. The book of Proverbs, chapter 13 and verse 22. And it reads, a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. Further on reading, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. So, saying like, man, if you have a good man or even a good woman, you try your best to leave a legacy behind you, leave an inheritance for not only your children, but even your grandchildren. You're trying to make sure I can set things up for not only this generation, but even the next generation to come. And that inheritance, it can be a number of things. It's not even just money, but you can cause your children to inherit a business. You can call them to inherit a sound plan. You can call them to inherit wisdom, knowledge and books of wisdom and knowledge to help set them up for success, and things to, pass on to them, to help further that legacy and allow them to be more successful. So that's a big part of it. Let's get the next one. 7, faith, imani, to believe with all our Jeremiah 17 and 5. So it's yay and nay. We want to get the right balance. So the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 5. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 5. And it reads, thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. You have to understand, we're not taught to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, in the righteousness and victory of our struggle. That's not necessarily sound doctrine, because all those things can fail. Our parents can fail. Our teachers can fail. Our leaders can fail. They can be wicked, and our struggle may not be righteous. It may very well be wicked or be a product of our wickedness. So that's why, scriptures have this in place. I even teach my own wife and kids, do not 100%
Put all your faith and trust in me because I am a mortal man, subject to error. It could be 80%, 85, 90, 95, but never 100, you know, because I can go astray. And I have to make sure that even if I go astray, you correct me. And if I still don't repent and I go away and I go astray, you continue to follow righteousness even if I don't. So that's what I have to teach, and that's thus saith the Lord. I could be right today and wicked tomorrow. Or not that fact fall away, but it happens. You know, so that's why the scriptures say this in verse 5. Thus says the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. That's not saying, oh, I just trust somebody. No, it's the level of trust. Don't overly trust. Don't invest too much trust. In anybody. So, thus said the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, whose heart departed from the Lord. And that's part of it too. Your mindset should be putting all your trust and focus in the Most High, not in man, woman, or child, because they can fall away. They can do you wrong, and things can be good now and then fall away later. And, you can, and that within itself can cause you to fall away from the Most High just within that, because it can even go off into places of even idolatry. You put everything into them and they get you to fall away, slowly but surely. And you have people with that. I mean, same with even some of these holidays. They put everything, I'm doing it for the kids, and now you making your kids an idol, and instead of you saying that, nah, it's I can do for my children, but not if I'm going against the Most High, to do it, then now I can't do that, because now then I'm in violation of this scripture, and others that speak on it. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 7 now. So, verse 7, it says, blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. Okay, that's a big part, and there's plenty of other scriptures that deal with that. To trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding. There's scriptures that speak on that, but of course, this is just an example. Let's get the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 1 through 3. And let's properly address it. Romans chapter 10, verse 1. It says, brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. So this is Paul speaking and praying on behalf of his people, that his desire, his mind desire, man, and his prayers, what he's praying for, is for his people, for Israel, to be saved. Read on verse 2. It says, for I bear them record that they have a zeal of God. So they have a zeal. A zeal is a fervent desire. So a fervent desire, a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. And knowledge is information, not according to the proper information that they should have. So, and that's the same with our people that you see today. And I'll read verse 3 and explain further. Verse 3, for they being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. And that reflects with the celebration of, like, with Kwanzaa. It's something that, it takes from a lot of scriptural principles, because the doctor, he studied a lot of the African tribes who their roots are Israelites, and they're practicing things that thus said Lord of the scriptures. Some of it as it is, other things it's watered down or more job by tradition or oral teaching than, actually going, by the scriptures, just, different executions of it, of the scriptural principles, but it's one of those things to where you're getting a watered down version of what the scriptures say versus getting the full, from the source, so to speak, the potency, here that you want to get. And, and even with, the Dr. Karinga, from what it sounded like and how he set things up, I believe that he had a level of sincerity in trying to build something good for his people, to help build us and restore us to a degree. But it's, similar to other leaders in times past and, in history, that you're close, good attempt, but we have to come full circle and righteous what the Most High is calling us to do, and so it's not to make fun of the day or tease or make fun of him for his work or just demean him or his studies and things, but he was getting there, as some do. They get there and they try, you know, and at the time of writing speaking, I don't even know if he's dead or alive. I didn't do that research. But it's one of those things. I hope if he is alive, that he's able to sincerely repent and continue on his journey and learn that, hey, you were on to something, but now we have to come full circle, and he can teach others to, do the same. Um, so that's what we, have here. Many of our people have a desire to serve God, but we don't have all the information according to righteousness and how he would want us to do that. And being unaware of that, we can begin to go off on our own ways. Sometimes it's hazard and dangerous because now we're just teaching things outright against the scriptures. Other thing, there's some good in there, but it's like when the Most High called Abraham, walk before me and be thou perfect. Meaning what? There's many things that you're doing, but I need you to now come full circle. I need you to be complete now, and that's for some of our people in the world. Some of them, they're practicing some of the things because either they grew up in a family with some good values, a good moral and civil compass. So you may have some brothers and sisters with good head on their shoulder. These things, yeah, I was taught from my youth up, but it's okay. These are the things you lack. That now you need to become full circle and perfect your walk with the Most High and be everything He wants you to be. So that's important. And let's go back to Psalms 127 and 1. Or excuse me, let's go to Psalms 127 and 1. So, hopefully we rightly divide the word of truth with things and rightly divide some of the customs and history and origin of some of these things and to set them in their proper place according to the word of the Most High, because this is the filter, and not just doing things according to how I feel or I want or, any of us. So let's get Psalm chapter 127 and verse 1. Psalm 127 and verse 1, and it reads, except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. If the Most High, he has to be at the center. If anything you're trying to do, if you're trying to build a family, a congregation, what so have you, if the Most High is not at the center, it doesn't matter. Marriage, relationship, if he's not at the center, and said they labor in vain that build it. It's at the end of the day, because at some point in time, it's going to become undone. It's going to unravel. It's going to fall apart. Need that be the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, the next decade. It's not going to last. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh, but in vain. Because at the end of the day, you can have watchmen, that are literally doing their job in terms of security, but at the same time, you're going to have issues. Because if you're not righteous, then the Most High is not going to be with you. And if the Most High is not with you, it doesn't matter how well the watchmen do their jobs, you're still going to fail. You're still being set up for failure. Because the Most High is going to judge that kingdom, that city, that house, or that situation, then it's going to ultimately fall because thus saith the Lord, it will fall. But if the Most High is with you, even if it look like it's falling, even look like, ooh, I don't know if they gonna make it. Most of the time, they gonna make it because I said they gonna make it. I'm gonna make sure they gonna make it. I'm gonna work my work so that everything is successful. So let's continue. Let's get Exodus chapter 25, 31 through 37. The Most High gave us a menorah or candlestick. Let's get Exodus 25, 31 through 37. This is where it comes from. This is part of why they gotta, why they use a candlestick. Africa that they knew the scriptures. Let's get Exodus 25, 31 through 37. Exodus 25 and verse 31, and it reads, and thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold. That's that candlestick. That's that menorah. That's what that, I believe it was what, Qatar, similar to that. I don't recall it now, but mention that's that candlestick you're dealing with there. The menorah of pure gold, of beaten work shall the candlestick be made. His shaft and his branches, his bowls, his knops, and his flowers shall be of the same. And so with that candlestick one in the middle, it says, and 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it. So you're gonna have 6 branches on the sides of it. So it says 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side, so 3 on one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side, so 3 on the other side. And so in the middle one is that seventh, and you got 3 on each side, so 3 on one side, 3 on one, that's 6. The middle of that 7, so 7 candlesticks total, 7 branches total. So verse 33. So as I said, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side. So verse 33. Their bowls made like unto almonds, with a knop and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds in the other branch, with a knop and a flower. So on the 6 branches that come out of the candlestick. And in the candlestick shall be 4 bowls made like unto almonds, with their knops and their flowers. And this is all with the design, the knobs and the flowers, all the type of design of the candlestick. So it wasn't just like, a stick where we just think in a hole up top. Like, nah, it was actually intricately designed. It has some shape to it, some grooves. The 34, and in the candlestick shall be 4 bowls made like unto almonds, with their knops and their flowers. And there shall be a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlestick. Verse 36, their knops and their branches shall be of the same. All it shall be one beaten work of pure gold. So just solid, the whole thing solid. 37, last verse here. And thou shalt make the 7 lamps thereof, and 7 total. And they shall light the lamps thereof, that they may give light over against it. And it was meant to be lit, and it was 7 representing completion, okay, in the eyes of the Most High. That 7 is a holy number that represents completion. So is chapter 24, verse 1 through 2, and then verse 4. The book of Leviticus, chapter 24, verse 1 through 2. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure olive, that's that olive oil, beaten for the light, to call the lamps to burn continually. Okay, skip it down to verse 4 for sake of time. He shall order the lamps upon the pure candlestick before the Lord continually. So it's something always to be kept burning, to represent in the spirit us making sure that our lamps, our light, is always lit, it's always righteous, okay? That we're always at all times working to be completely righteous. And of course, last just celebrate Feast of Dedication, okay? And there is information on our website and YouTube, for those things. That the Feast of Dedication is dealing with just what we kind of cover a little bit of when you get the term. Most of us are familiar with the term Hanukkah. Okay, Hanukkah comes from the Hebrew word Hanukkah. The main feast that the stemming of, or the importance or focus around the menorah is centered around. So, or the candlestick or menorah. So let's get from here. First Maccabees 4:47 through 59. So, and right, this is the definition of, again, dedication in the Hebrew. So, which came from Strong's H2598. But let's get First Maccabees chapter 4. And this will be the last thing that we cover. First Maccabees chapter 4. And like I said, there's another video on YouTube we did with the history of the Feast of Dedication that you can watch for more of that. I just want to get just a little bit. First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 47. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels. And into the temple they brought the candlestick, they brought the menorah, and the altar burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. So, and skipping down verse 52, now on the 25th day of the ninth month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning. And verse 53, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. 54, look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citharins and harps and cymbals. So this is part of the celebration, skipping down verse 56. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. And skip it down, verse 58. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Last one, verse 9, last scripture. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication, the days of the Hanukkah, dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness. Okay, so that's more of that history. So I wouldn't endorse that we would keep Kwanzaa, but rather that we keep the feast days of the Most High, such as the Feast of Dedication and all his other feasts that are found in the book, well, throughout the scriptures, but many of them you can find in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23. Okay, you can find many of them there, so that it speaks on many of the feasts of the Most High. But you can look at our website, soundfaithministry.org, and learn about many of these holidays and how to better serve the Most High, and watch our other videos on social media, such as YouTube as well. So pray you got something out of this, and that you have a better understanding. And with that, I say shalom.